Good morning. I am so excited to share the day that we had yesterday. I will say I experienced a whole new level of exhaustion. We rested for a couple of hours. I did fall asleep during that time. And when I woke up, man, I'm not sure I have ever felt like I had been literally run over a truck quite like that. I mean, I was sick to my stomach. I just did not feel good at all. And that was when my prayer started, and I can really truly say I have had a moment of like prayer without ceasing, and I'm amazed. Just the work that God is doing in my heart. And honestly, I kind of feel at this point a little bit embarrassed because I think I thought conceptually, like I knew what my purpose was coming here. I can guarantee you my purpose was my problem. Like that was the issue. I was looking at what I was doing here. Me being here has nothing to do with me at all, with my ability to do anything. God is working in my life. I know He's working in the lives of the people that are here as well, simultaneously. And that also amazes me because just seeing what He is bringing to mind for me personally, I honestly am in awe that our God has the ability to work on so many people. Like, if you're watching this, like, I know that God is working in your life right now in a really big way. Okay, apparently today's going to be an emotional day. I didn't realize that, but sorry, I'm trying to get myself together. But the biggest thing right now that God is showing me is that He's taken me all the way on the other side of the world to show me that He's the same God. He is the same God, and I have had the ability to see Him in similar places that I saw Him at home. I see similarities between my home and the homes of the people here. One of the beautiful, I think was a really beautiful piece of this, or like seeing God, was that there are animals everywhere. There are chickens, and there's one guy who does ducks. He takes care of all the ducks. He's the duck man. I'll talk about him in a little bit, but there are chickens and dogs and cats and little ones, big ones, babies, adults, like all sorts of different things. But there are animals everywhere. And I don't think I understood in an area like this, there is not the additional income to feed all of those animals, let alone the actual family members. So in these small houses that most of them have constructed with their own two hands, they are housing this. The smallest house was probably like half the size of this bedroom, and I think it was housing 6 people. And it has everything for them. They don't have bathrooms in a lot of these homes, and they have kitchens, but they're very different than the kitchens that we have back at home. And because of some of the initiatives that Side by Side has put forth, like the livelihood initiatives, the programs, they have plumbing for their water, so they can take it from their deep well and bring it up to their houses, and that has made a huge impact. They have, what was I going to say that they were also really excited about? Oh, the electrical. That has been super exciting, and I have a picture of it, but they all have like a board that they made during one of the programs of like different ways of connecting the wiring, and they have it as like a plaque on their wall, just something that they are so proud of because they know how to do these things. Carpentry and masonry. We got to see some people building and constructing their homes. Typically, they will all be living communally as multiple generations of families, And then as they have jobs and as they can make money, they try to start their own house, but it can take years for them to actually live in that home. So we saw somebody, a young man, and he is so excited. And he's not doing it alone. Like, these are all community efforts. These men and women and children are all coming together, but he, step by step, as he has money, he puts it into his new house. And the pride that I had seen in people just building these things, and they're so excited to show you what they've created, and they're so proud to have homes for their families and to be able to provide for them and show you their way of life. I'm going to get back to that in a minute because I realized I just jumped for animals. I'm sorry, this is going to be a super jumpy video because my brain just cannot keep up with the amount of information that has gone into it. So back to the animals really quick though. One of the really sweet things that I saw was chickens with baby chicks. And I don't know if you know this, but Paul, Lucy, Alice, and I, well, and Jason, kind of. Sorry, honey. But we raised baby chicks together just a few weeks ago, and we have baby ducks that are currently in our incubator. And so seeing those little baby chicks run around, it was interesting for me because I know like what my experience was raising these baby chicks and having them in this little box because I didn't want them to, you know, get chick poop all over my house, and like having a very controlled environment, and I have to make sure that they, you know, are a certain temperature and all these things. And it was a lot of work. Like it was a lot of work, changing their bedding, all these things. And yet God is doing that with zero input from people. Like he's taking care of all those baby chicks. And I remember, so we had 4 baby chicks die when we were raising them, and now I'm sure that they die here too. But just to see like the abundance in numbers of all of these animals that are thriving and doing well, it brought to light the scripture that like why are you worried about the clothes that you have? Why are you worried about the food that you're going to eat? Because he does provide for us. And just having that such a close experience to something I was going through with the kids, I think it really spoke to my heart, and saying like, as much as I have felt like I had to have hands-on control to so many things in my life, I could see just in little baby chickens that were running around how this is not a what can you control at all. That's not what this life is about. And I loved being able to see that. The other thing that was really awesome was there was a man, and he raises all the ducks, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ducks. And I don't even know how many ducks he has. A lot. And they are all trained, but he did not train them. They go out into the fields. So here in this area, the main source of livelihood is farming. So they have so many rice fields everywhere. But the rice fields aren't actually owned by the people. And so typically, like, they will work on the field and harvest the rice, which is a very difficult process. And they do now have some machines, which they were talking about, which is really cool. And that has helped significantly, but it's an arduous process, and they don't get to keep all that they harvest. There's a lot of rules about it, because like other people are owners of the farm, but they can care for it. So anyways, all that to say, that's part of how they're sustaining their families, is through the maintaining the rice fields out there and eating from them. So anyhow, back to the duck farmer. He raises these ducks, and they go out into the rice fields and they eat. He doesn't feed them at all. They eat the snails, I guess. And I asked him how many eggs he gets, because so what he does is they have eggs that duck eggs that he sells every 2 to 3 days. There's somebody who comes by and he loads up all of these eggs, and then they go somewhere else to be incubated. And here, I cannot remember the name of it. Oh, okay, I'll make a note of it next time. But they have this tradition where they take a duck egg and they incubate it for 10 days. And so there's a partially formed baby duck in there. And then at 10 days, they take it out and they eat it. They consume it at that point. They offered if I wanted to try it, and I told them that was just so, so kind. I think at this time I'm probably going to pass, but I really appreciated the offer. I'm not sure I could even come close to that. And they were so gracious and generous to offer, but they didn't have any on hand. And I'm not going to lie to you, that was the best news I had ever heard. I was so happy that there was not any available at that time. Anyhow, so he has all of these eggs, and I asked him, how many eggs do you pick a day? And he said every day he picks 109, which I thought was just a very specific number, but that's what he told me. He said, I pick about 109 eggs every day unless it rains. And I said, why does it matter if it rains? And he said, because there's more snails in the rice fields, and so they always eat more. And so the days that it rains, right after, he knows he's going to be picking upwards of 200 eggs a day. And so he's going out and collecting all these eggs, putting them in cartons, or not cartons like we have in America, but putting them on shelves almost, these shelf curtains. And then somebody comes by, picks them up, and then they sell them. And that's how he makes his livelihood. So he is so proud of his ducks. He loves them so much. And then they have their chickens there too. It's so funny. I was thinking about how we have this whole homestead initiative back in America, and how there's, excuse me, people have hobby chickens, right? There are no hobby chickens here. That, it was funny to me, the stark difference between, they would be like, what are you talking about, a hobby chicken? No, the whole purpose of this chicken is so we can eat it. So they, and speaking of that, I have to tell you, I had the funniest statement, it was funny to me anyways, made. We could see where the ocean was, not from this village, but we could see it, and I was speaking with a Filipino woman, and I had asked her, she was like, yeah, and that's, the ocean, and we can get, there's people who go and get fresh crab and fresh fish every morning, and they walk it right past where your house is. So if you ever want any, let me know, and I will contact the people who do that, and they can just drop it off on their way into the market. So, and I said, oh, do you see any dolphins out there? And she said, dolphins? No, they don't come around here. And I was like, oh, okay. And she says, no, we eat them. We're Filipino. If we saw anything that's in there, we were going to eat it. And she's like, they stay away because they don't want to get eaten. I have definitely never thought of it like that. But it was really funny. And she was giggling at me because she was like, you wouldn't eat the dolphin if you found it? And I was like, nope, I would just watch it. And she was like, watch it? Watch it do what? I don't know the answer to that. I watch it swim. I watch it just do whatever it does. Anyway, that was really fun. She got a good giggle out of that too. Let's see what else. I'm going to look at some of these photos because it was amazing. Oh, okay. So there was, when we first got to the village yesterday, and it's Barangay, oh, I got to look at the name. I know where we're going today, but I don't remember the name of this one. Anyways, it's not important right now. There was a building that they created, and we met the captain of the barangay. So here, learning about the gender roles and how they view like males and females, and what they do is, there are some similarities back to America, but it is definitely a non-issue here. There are other things that are concerns. So their men are normally working 6 days a week with Sundays off. That's why we had so many of the men in the pictures yesterday and got to meet with so many of them. And the women, they stay home with the kids, but they're also doing a lot of different side jobs because they just need the money. The men are doing multiple jobs typically. Sometimes they're gone 6 days a week because they have to go into the city, and it is so expensive. It is so expensive to go back and forth that, and actually I had a number for you, but it's so expensive to go back and forth for transportation and how much that they're actually making, that it just doesn't make sense. So I was asking some of the people who work with Side by Side, asking them some questions. And so it was really interesting. They had said that on average, people are normally making about 5,000 pesos a month. So that's about $100 a month. And for them to, so 5,000 pesos a month, for them to get just into the city, or like into, they have to take multiple modes of transportation. So they might have to take like the motorcycle, the motorbike out to one section. And then from there they have to catch the jeepney. And then from there they have to catch something else. Like it's always a long process. And it's normally like 160 pesos just trying to get transportation. So like I said, typically they will go and then come back. So anyhow, sorry, I'm jumping around because I wanted to read that really quick. So this was a building that they put together. I know it's backwards, but you can kind of see it. This is a comfort room. That's what they call bathrooms. And so, as I said before, in this community, they don't have individual bathrooms in their homes. It's just not a thing. And so the men in the community who took the plumbing and masonry and electrical courses, they all came together, and I want to say there were probably 12 or 14 men that came together, and they used their skills to build a community bathroom. And so anybody from the community can go there and use it. It's within walking distance for a lot of them. There is quite the distance between houses sometimes. That was really neat to see as well. But they built this bathroom, and they built a sink on the outside of it, and they are just so proud, and they were so excited to be able to share that they built this, and they have a bathroom and or a comfort room, and they were just so excited. Oh, there's my alarm telling me it's time for me to go walk with Allison. Sorry, Allison, I can't walk with you today. But they were so proud and so excited that they built this, and it was such a huge need for the community. I loved one thing that Side by Side had shared was that when they come in to talk to the colleges and things about different programs, they ask them, like, what do you need? What skills do you need? And then they go after that to try to see who they can get on board. I was also surprised. I got to learn a little bit about the schools, and I got to see where the school was and the basketball court. Basketball, by the way, is the thing. Like, it is the community thing. If they do not have a basketball hoop, like they have a really fancy one over by the school that they love. But out in the village, they have like wrought iron that they twist into a hoop and then attach it to the tree. And so they are always playing basketball. They love basketball so much. I had a point to that. Sorry, my brain is like, I'm still a little bit fried today. What was I saying? Why was I saying that about basketball? I don't know. They love basketball. That has been fun to see the little kids playing. Oh, school. That's what I was talking about. So they have a basketball court at the school, but I got to learn about the school. So they start school here around age 4, and it's like nursery style school. And only the people who are really, really close can actually go to that, and if they have the income for it. Then they start kinder at 5, and they go all the way through high school at the same place. So if I did learn yesterday, there is a young man that went through the plumbing. I think he went through plumbing and electrical. I can't remember if he did more than that, but I know he did plumbing and electrical. And when I was meeting with his sister's in college right now. She's in her second year of criminology. So here on the island of Leyte, there's a college that specializes in criminology. So she is in her second year there, but she's they're out of money, and so she has to wait to see if she can afford to get the transportation there to actually go and take the courses. But she was explaining that her brother had some learning disabilities, and so here, if you're not able to kind of keep up with the class and what they're learning, then they stop going to school, some of them. So that was her brother's case. So he went to school until about 4th grade and then was having learning difficulties. And in their family, they had 13 adults living there, and each of the kids had kids. And so they could have upwards of like 20 people living in their house. And so she was explaining, like, right now it's challenging because they need enough money to just be able to provide for everyone. And so everybody has to contribute. And so her family was so grateful to Side by Side for coming out and helping to put these programs on, because they were able to help teach him skills, even though he didn't have an education to go and get a different type of job. He had skills, and so he's able to bring in money all the time for the family. So he feels very empowered, and his family is very grateful that he knows how to do those things, and also to help around their house specifically. So those are kind of some of the big things, like work-wise. But I've been talking for a while, but I'm not done. So I want to talk about, though, I think how God has really shifted my perspective. And again, some of it is just shocking to me that things I didn't realize, like I didn't know. For example, they were talking about how, like, there's quite a distance in the rice fields between homes, and how it can get like really, really muddy and swampy, and like they can be under 6 inches, 8 inches of water. And so the whole time I was like, man, I really hope it doesn't rain. Like, I have tennis shoes. I'm planning on pitching them after this trip anyways, but that would be a really big pain if they got all muddy. Like, I don't know, just I was thinking about that for whatever reason. And then when I was meeting with Christina, the one who's going to school for criminology, she was explaining how their family's been having a hard time because of a lack of rain. Because when they don't get consistent rain, their crops don't grow. And when their crops don't grow, they can't eat. And I instantly had that like gut punch feeling, like, man, I was just praying earlier that there was no rain because I didn't want my shoes to get muddy. And that, I don't know, I think I met with some of my own like self-centeredness being here, that it's not really fun to see, if I'm being completely honest. Seeing that people want you in their homes and they're inviting you into their homes is a different, what's funny is it is hospitality the way that the Bible has explained it. That's how they're living it. And oddly enough, or interestingly enough, when I started asking people like to describe God, or who is God, or every single person that I asked that to described him in similar ways as, he's who I go to when I don't know what to do anymore. He's my strength. He is the one who has my life in his hands. Like, there is this deep desperation, and I honestly think a better understanding than even what I have for the depth of God's love and his provision. They are experiencing that every single day. And I can truly say, like, from my own comfort, that I have not had to sit in discomfort for very long. I just not in the same regard. And again, like, the purpose of this is not to have like feelings of shame, but I have met that while I've been here, thinking that there are people who are so willing to have you into their homes, and they're not like any homes we have here in the United States, but they want to have you in, have you sit down. They want you to be a part. And you know what? I didn't have one person apologize to me that their home was messy. But yet, I am that person every time somebody comes to my house, because I feel like I need to justify, or I have a pride problem over having lived in my own house. And that is not a thing. Vanity is not a thing over here. If you ask Americans randomly, oh, hey, come, let's get together, let's get your picture, there is no way. They might not look the way they want to. We don't have that same concept of just togetherness. Whereas, like, if I say, hey, can I take a picture? They're pulling each other in. They want to show off their home to you. They want to show, like, they are not embarrassed of their home situation or their living situation, because they know that it is a huge blessing in their lives. And that was a stark difference to how sometimes I treat my home. That it is such a blessing in my life, and I don't, quite frankly, it's like a slap in the face that I get embarrassed over living there. Not living there, but embarrassed over looking like I live there. Like, my home doesn't look like an HGTV catalog all the time. And sometimes it has stopped me. There was a lady that we were just walking by her house, so she wasn't like a scheduled stop for us or anything. And she was waving, and she like ushered me over to come in. And she just, as soon as I got to the doorway, she just opened up and she asked me like to come and sit on her couch. Like, they have like most of their furniture is like wooden furniture. And so I went and sat with her, and she was so kind and so hospitable. And all I could think is, like, I have had moments where I have stood in my own doorway with friends of mine, and I am a stranger. She doesn't know me at all. But I have had moments where I have had friends of mine that had come to my house, and I was uncomfortable. I didn't really know these people super well. And I remember standing in the doorway trying to make myself as big as possible, and the door closed, because I didn't want anyone to see my mess and judge me. Whereas this lovely woman was just so inviting, and she wanted to have us there and wanted to talk with us and shower us with love and affection. There was a verse in Leviticus that I was looking at, and it talks about, like, with foreigners, like, when you invite them in and love on them and treat them as your own. And I have gotten to experience that love from people that have no idea who I am, but they look at you to actually see you. And I'm not sure that I often do that in America, and I didn't even realize it until I got here. Like, I'm actually able to look at people and see people for who they are and who God created them to be, and experience that excitement with them, and to be proud with them, and to see the beauty in things that I wouldn't have seen beauty in before. There were so many times when people would offer us things. Like, these are families who are struggling to eat, and they're not worried about clothes. They're not worried about their hair. Like, those aren't concerns. They're worried about food. And we had a family that had a small, like, bushel of bananas, which also I learned all of our bananas are GMO. like all have GMOs in them. These ones do not. And real bananas like this, they have seeds in them. Did not know this. Like actual seeds, not like the little teeny tiny black specks that we're used to. But that's not the point. She had this little bushel of bananas, and you can see all the food they have because, one, it's very, very little, and what they are picking and getting is what they are having in like that day in that area, or at least with this lady. And she had this whole bushel of bananas and wanted to give us all of it. All of it. And there were probably like 6 little, and they were like about this big, 6 little bananas in there. And I tell you what, it is a humbling experience to have somebody genuinely, I mean, actually genuinely want to share with you because they want to love on you in that way. And obviously everything within me wants to say like, no, like, you eat it, you need this. But I can't even begin to tell you how that's what you think inside, but you can see through their eyes that is 100% the wrong thing. Like, they are wanting to do that with you. And so by partaking and sharing it with them, you are honoring and validating what God has blessed them with, and validating them as people, and that their gifts are good gifts. Like, when it says like God always gives us good gifts and we're supposed to give good gifts, it really had me reflecting too. Like, sure, I give gifts away, but I have never in my life given the last speck of food that my entire family, like, maybe that might be a little exaggerated, but I've never given, when I have been short on food, the majority of my food. I don't know if that was the last, but I've never experienced that, and the love for somebody in that way. I loved seeing all the kids that were there. You know, I think before, some people may know, some people may not, we had an embryo adoption that did not happen back in October, and it was super hard on our family. It was very, very hard. Jason and I can't have any more kids, and our family really wanted more children, and it did not happen. It was God's will that it happened that way, but nonetheless, it doesn't mean it wasn't hard. And I think I have seen pictures before, just like the pictures I had taken here, of little kids that you're like, oh, like, we could adopt a child and give them such a better life. Well, let me tell you, I did not. That is such an ignorant thought. It really is. There are children that I saw being loved on, like, so well, and much better than a lot of kids that I see in America. Like, sure, they might have different clothes and they might have shoes and all these other things, but the love that they're receiving is not always the same. And I honestly feel like I was a little bit swindled by marketing people, taking pictures, again, similar to the ones that I've been taking, but not from a dignity perspective, but from a, hey, look at this poor child that you can just come and lift up out of poverty. No. These children and like these families, sure, they might not have what we consider like material items, but do not get that confused for a single second that they are not provided for, cared for, and loved, because they absolutely are. And yes, there is struggle, and yes, there is hardship, but to see the joy and to see the community come together and the family dynamic, I see families that are much, much stronger here in the Philippines with so little than I do in America. And to see their family time, when we were going from house to house, we would like collect people as we would go, and they would all go through to everybody's house, and like they would start talking and say like, whose house are we going to next? And they would yell out a name, and then that name would get yelled out all down the line. And like by the end, I mean, we had so many people, kids, so many people, and it was a joyous occasion because everybody got to show where they lived. Everyone got to share a piece of their life with us, and they were proud of what God provided. And that made me ask, like, have I always been proud of what God has provided for me? And I don't think I have. And I love that they, right now, from people I was talking to, that a lot of them have a concept of God and who God is. And as I said before, and it comes from a place, oh, sorry, my legs are going to sleep. It comes from a place of desperation is the word I want to use, but they know what they need from God, and they have watched Him faithfully provide for them over and over and over again, that there is no doubt in their mind that there is a God. And I just, right now, my prayer is that there will be people that can come alongside them and help to foster the relationship piece, because there is something missing between, like, they are going to God, but to understand the full depth of the gospel of Jesus and why we can continue to come to Him with anything and everything that we have, and the forgiveness and mercy. My prayer is that message will be infiltrated into this community, because they definitely know that there is a God, but here they don't have. So they speak Warai here, and the New Testament translation of the Bible was just published for the first time in October of last year. So they don't have the Old Testament in Warai at all, from what my understanding is. And what's fun is that the younger generation and the ones who are trying to go to college or are in high school, since the Philippines has adopted the Western style education, they are everybody's learning English. They do have like math, science, reading, those types of things. And because they cannot read English, the English Bibles, they are now able to read. And so Laura, she brought a bunch of Bibles with her as well to help distribute. But for people who are a bit older, there is no biblical text that they can understand. So what a blessing is it that the familial structure is so prominent and so strong that the young kids are the ones who can actually read the Bible to the families. But right now, they're not in enough hands. And so it would just be a beautiful thing in the future to see discipleship and coming together, because there is a need for that here. Coming together and loving on the people just like they're loving on us. Something else that I was writing in my journaling this morning that I wanted to comment on was the was the ability to be distracted, and how I saw so many people genuinely excited to see us, talk with us, but they weren't distracted, and they were constantly looking out for our needs, which was absolutely shocking to me. Like, at one point when we were walking through the village, now mind you, we have had very little sleep and are very jet lagged from the trip, so we're tired. And it is hot, and so we are just like sweating like crazy. And here we have to drink the bottled water here, and and I had finished my water and was just sweating a lot. And same with Laura. And someone had mentioned about the coconuts and how they're so helpful, and they can help to like recharge you and all of those things. And there was a man, and he says one moment, and I have a video of it. He took his shoes off and he climbed up this giant palm tree, huge palm tree, just went right on up there, like swung his leg over a palm frond, sat in the middle of the tree, like pulled out this knife and cut them down and dropped them to us. And then another guy went over with his machete and was like carving out a hole and like just giving us these coconuts with coconut water in them, telling us like it will make you feel so much better, because they wanted to take care of us. And coming on this trip, I will say I had a lot of fear. I still do. I'm being totally honest. I still do. I have a lot of fear around the food. I have a lot of fear around the water. And I have a big surgery coming up in May, and I love to say like it's from that. I don't even think it is from that though. Like the more I evaluate my own fears, because that has definitely been a center of what God is working on with me. But anyways, in that moment though, watching people care for you and love on you, I will tell you, having that coconut in my hands and just praying over it and praying, Lord, I just pray that you will remove anything that is not supposed to be in my body. And if you don't, then that was your will too. And to be able to take part in something with people who are loving you. I don't know. It's been, and I don't like coconut water. Fun fact. I knew I didn't like coconut water from a vacation, but there was no way I was going to deny that. So we were there all day, or all afternoon, up through when it got dark, past when it got dark, and it was really beautiful. It was so fun to see similar things to home, right? Like you see the sunset and you're like, wow, I see God in that sunset right there, just like I see him at home. Or seeing them in the duck eggs and saying, wow, like there are so many similarities to our lives and so many differences to our lives, but we're all provided for by God, and his provision and his faithfulness, and just outwardly showing this, like, and I don't have any idea what anybody else is getting out of us being here. Honestly, I feel like not very much right now. They're able to show us, but I feel like this has been a trip that I have just been soaking in all of these different things, and God has just been revealing himself to me and how much he loves us, and not loves us because we're in America, but loves us deeply. And to feel his love through other people has been just amazing. And I think I had shared before, this is my last thing, and then I'm going to get off here because I've been talking for a long time, but I just don't want to forget any of this. Last night when we got home, I was so tired, and I was praying because I have the hole in my air conditioning unit, and our windows don't close all the way, so there's just the screen, and so things can definitely come and visit, and it scares me a lot. And the people here would think that that was probably like a funny thing, like, what? Why are you scared of that? Like, that is not something to fear. But for me, it is a big fear. I have a fear of rodents, and I have a fear of ants, which I know that one is very strange, but I for whatever reason don't do ants. And I have been confronted with both of those fears in a really big way. So like, there are ants everywhere in the Philippines, everywhere. Like, and it's not a cleanliness issue. It's not that. It's just where we are, and it's not a problem for people. Like, they don't do anything. They're not harming you, but like, they're all over your kitchen and all over everything. And so it's just, you learn to live with it. And I remember sitting at breakfast with Laura and seeing like one ant crawling on her shirt, and then seeing another ant crawling on her shirt, and thinking, oh my gosh, if those ants are on you, that means those ants are on me. And I, real quick, got into a mental prayer with the Lord, because I was like, I cannot lose it right now over these teeny tiny little sugar ants. And again, I know it sounds silly, but for me it was not. It was not a silly thing. And I was like, Lord God, I need you to remove this fear, or I need you to come alongside me and make me strong, because I don't think I realized how much I have let fear run my mind, and I have let fear take over. And it was taking over in a big way from these teeny tiny little ants. And this was before we went out on our journey. I got home from the barangays and I saw the ants again in the house, and I did not look at them the same way. I didn't, because I had just got done experiencing a whole day with people, and ants were no longer a problem. And I had ants on me, and I took my cold shower, and I was very grateful for my cold shower, whereas before I am sensitive to the cold. If you have not realized, God did not make me into a hardy person. I don't feel like that would be a way I would have described myself. But that's just because I was relying on creature comforts. It's not because that's not how I'm made. And I'm proud of that. Like, I like being able to see that I can overcome things. And seeing the little sugar ants this morning, I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and was terrified of rats. I was afraid I was going to wake up and see rats like in my room. And I definitely understand the hymn, like, Lord, I need you every hour, because I was in prayer all night last night, because I'm pretty sure I could hear something outside my window, but nothing came in to visit me. So that was God's grace on me. But when I got up, I had my flashlight on and I was like making some noises like on my bed, because if it was somewhere, I wanted them to go away before I could see them. But there was nothing. But I went to the bathroom and I saw the little sugar ants around the sink, and I saw them like around like my toothpaste container that was there. And I remember looking at them thinking, before, this would have made anxiety creep into me. And I've never been able to see the ants doing this and not feel that before. And I felt like that was such a gift from God for me, that he was able to take something that I brought to him, as small as it was. It mattered to the master because it mattered to me. And I was willing to just bring that before him and say, I don't know why this is a problem in my life. I'm seeing all this other stuff, but I still can't get over these silly ants. And then like that, it was so much better. And I still don't love them, and I know they're going to get all over me, and I really don't love that either, but I don't have this like knot got in my throat yesterday, and I don't have that anymore. And now the rats is a different situation. I'm still needing the Lord every hour on that one. I was, again, praying a lot about that. But I'm okay. And it is okay. And the people that I had the opportunity to meet yesterday have really, really taught me. And again, this was only one day, just one day. But they have really taught me that you can depend on the Lord for everything, the big and the small. And I am getting to experience that in my own way, although it's very different. And I feel very blessed to be here. Again, I think it's silly that I thought for 1 minute that somehow we were doing something for them that was bigger than what God was doing in our lives by bringing us here. So yeah, I'm very humbled, and I'm looking at things very different. It's definitely shifting my perspective on a lot. So anyways, I know this has been an insanely long jibber jabber. So if you've held on this long, you are amazing. I probably would not have hung on this long. I just want to remember this. So thank you. And today we're going out to another barangay, and I'm excited to share our next adventures. Hopefully it won't take me 50 minutes to get through my rambling, and my jet lag will probably be a little better. So hopefully this won't happen quite like this. Anyways, I love you, friends. Thank you for your thoughts and your prayers. And yeah, just thanks. Thanks for coming along the journey. Bye.